From VGK headquarters at City National Arena, this is Knights Report presented by Allegiant. Welcome into Studio 31. Darren Millard along with Gary Lawless. Things have changed since we last talked to you. We're going to update you on that, as well as bring you just up to date on what's happened in the National Hockey League perspective. There has been a positive test by an Ottawa player. That whole situation in just a little bit. Plus, Jonathan Marchessault will join us via FaceTime, give us an idea of what the players are doing during this National Hockey League pause. Pleasure to be with you. Pleasure to have you with us on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, as well as FaceTime and VegasGoldenKnights.com. Give us your comments below, and we'll try and be as interactive as we can as we bring a VGK insider, Gary Lawless, who, if you ever wanted somebody to lay down the law, much like Governor Sisolak did yesterday in his greeting with the media, it is VGK insider Gary Lawless, because you are our compass when it comes to social distance. I don't mean that as a shot, and that truly shouldn't be taken as one, but no, you do make sure that everybody is practicing the best that we can during these trying times.
Well, I want us to be able to work as long as possible and to be able to do stuff like this. So if we're 6 feet apart here right now, we've got hand sanitizer all over the place. We're really doing our best to make sure that we follow the guidelines set down by our health officials. And just a moment to commend Governor Sisolak. I thought he was fantastic last night. His message was great, and we do have to take this seriously. If we want to have a chance to get back to our normal lives, we got to bite the bullet right now. Stay at home, stay clean, stay healthy, cut this thing as short as we can, and maybe we can play hockey, or we will be able to play hockey again at some time, and everything else that we want to do in life. So most important, folks, stay safe, stay smart, and stay healthy.
Over the course of the next hour, well said, Gary, we'll take your questions, your comments regarding both what's happening around the National Hockey League, the Vegas Golden Knights, and with our broadcasters and our content team, what you would like to see. There's some live or tape-delayed games, but some great games from the first couple of years on AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain coming up tonight, next 16 days, in fact, from the first couple of years. So we have some information on that, plus what the players are up to. Gary talked to a few guys today, and playoff format. There's been a lot of things thrown around over the last few days, some of it from National Hockey League players, just regarding what that might look like if and when the National Hockey League is able to resume play.
Don't forget, we have a brand new podcast up yesterday. Dan Duva and I recorded it. We got some help from Dave Gosher. We'll be doing those going forward. As next time we do it, we're going to get Shane Knighty involved. We can't get together to do them, so we're doing them remotely. Dan was at his place. I was at my place. We did a FaceTime, and then we also, the technology was called Tape Sync, and Dan produced it, and it's up, and you can get it on iTunes and wherever else you get your podcasts. So the hashtag Sheriff Lawless and some guy named Dave podcast.
What was that technology called?
Tape Sync.
Yeah, how much do you know about that technology and what that does?
I know that Dan Duva recorded his voice on one recorder. I recorded mine at my house. I sent the file to Dan, and then Dan layered them together in a meticulous process. Took him hours to do. Not easy.
Oh, no, I can't imagine it would be with you two. Let's bring in Jonathan Marchessault, who joins us now via FaceTime. And real pleasure, and thank you for taking the time as well during this situation. Just how are you and your family doing right now?
Good. I mean, we're just staying home right now, and I mean, it's the 4 kids and me and my wife, and we have plenty of food for a few weeks, and pretty much a lot of games around the house, and just enjoying family time a little bit.
What games have you played?
We do puzzles. After we do a lot of basketball, baseball, hockey, tennis. After we're gonna have to start some schoolwork here from the schools that they gave us to keep the brains of the kids going a little bit. And I mean, we're really occupied, that's for sure. We're going to bed early here.
Who's working the camera for you?
Me. Is it not good enough?
I'd like to see more of you and less of the palm tree.
Oh, my bad. There you go.
Go ahead, Gary.
How you doing, Marchie?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, pretty good, hanging in. Um, Tell us a little bit about your activities. You said you had lots of food. Who's doing the cooking? It must be fun for your wife to have you around. Like normally you might be traveling, and now she gets some help with those four lovely kids of yours.
Yeah, she's pretty happy to have me around. Yeah, honestly, we're doing the cooking together. We're doing some kind of like home workouts in the morning, and after we're just hanging out with the kids. And I honestly, it's been good. It's a little bit like our regular summertime, but definitely try to keep in shape and be ready for whenever it starts again.
You love, you're sort of a connoisseur. You like lots of different foods. I can remember we had dinner, lunch actually, at a place in Utah called the Painted Pony. And you were looking at the menu and we're sort of, we have to try this and ordering all kinds of different things. We had, you had half the menu, I had half the menu. It was quite a
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah, I normally, if you ask the guys when I go to the restaurant on the road, I like to have options. So I normally do not finish all my plates, but I like to have options. So I order always a little too much, and that's how I do it, and I love it.
Are you an appy guy? Is that where you go to? A lot of appies?
Oh, I never only take just one appy. There's only normally two, to maybe three, and after a main course for sure. I'm a big sure guy too, like Nate Schmidt. Uh, yeah, I'm open minded.
You share?
Yeah, I like to share, but not right now though. We gotta keep
No,
it.
obviously not. Yes.
We
You talked
gotta
about
everybody
the
in their
workout.
plate. That's it.
The workout that you guys are doing in the morning, because I don't know what kind of setup you have, but what kind of workouts are you doing to get the exercise in?
I right now it's kind of limited. I have a synthetic ice at my house, so I do a little bit of shots and puck handling, and obviously go running outside and some sprints, some footworks, but there's definitely not some strength stuff right now.
We have a question from Stephanie who wants to know what are fun things that you would recommend for kids, because you do have the family, for home right now while they're not allowed to or able to be around the ice.
Fun activities. I mean, we all kids have their thing that they like. I mean, my oldest is really into sports, so anything outside that involve getting him active. My daughter, she's mostly tennis and like coloring and stuff like that. My William, my third one, is more into like little scooter, little stroller kind of. So he's doing that a lot, and we're going outside every day in my parking lot where we they can like bike and like stroll and kind of play outside, do their thing.
So you have a shooting net? You have a shooting area at your house?
Yeah, it's right here.
Nice.
I can show it to you if you.
Marchie on the move. This should be a series.
So
So
who do you
that's my
pretend is
little
in goal
shooting
there?
net.
Who's your favorite guy to
That's
shoot
my
on?
little uh, ice synthetic. About it.
That's outstanding. Do you get emotional? What's your drill? Do you take 15 shots and try and score 14, or what's your setup? What's your style?
I'm just bigger right now. I'm not doing it for big workouts right now, but I'll get to shoot some pucks maybe this week more often and more reps too to get a little sweat doing that. But definitely, I miss going on the ice. Like when I finish my season, normally at the end of the year, I when I go back home, I take maybe like 1 week off, and I'm back on the ice with my friends from back home. So I right now I definitely miss being on the ice.
I'm just going to get you to flip the camera again, and as you
Sorry.
do you pretend flowers in net when you're taking those shots?
Yeah, I know his weakness, so I just practice those so I can be real successful in practice against him.
You know his weakness.
I'm normally
We, We watch you practice on Flower all the time, and he gets the better of you, Marchie.
I don't. You know what? It's days. It depends the days, but
No, it doesn't.
like maybe the day after Flower just played a game, that practice, I normally take advantage a lot of him. But normally, maybe he has a couple good practice, but I would say that I have more than 50% of my shots in almost.
I would have to disagree with you. Riley Smith beats him a lot in practice, but
Yeah.
he
Okay.
doesn't.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to keep count at some point.
There you go.
The classic games that AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain West is going to put on tonight, the first of which is a game against Ottawa in that first year. You scored a penalty shot in overtime. Get the fans excited. What do you remember about that play?
It was just a good game. I mean, Ottawa was just a hardworking team, and they kept the game close. Uh, and I know that I got a breakaway there in overtime, and I just saw the image after that. It was Stoney that was trying to catch me and got the penalty on me. So it's going to be I'll have a look. I'll have a look tonight for sure.
It's got Instagram written all over it, some kind of post
Yes.
with Mark Stone taking the penalty.
You should text him ahead of the game and say,
I will. I'll let him know.
make sure you watch me beat you tonight.
Yeah, I'll say 7:38. Open the TV.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. And
Turn on, sorry.
to you and Alexandra, all the best, okay?
All right, thank you guys. Have a good day.
You bet.
Stay
Jonathan
safe.
Marchessault, Vegas Golden Knight veteran forward, up over 20 goals a season, and he's gone through a couple of significant ups and downs. And then you look at the total, and you're like, he's closing in on 25.
Well, he's a streaky guy at times, and I think that's just life when you're a goal scorer. Sometimes there's going to be a little period where it doesn't go in for you, but fortunately for him, he does lots of other important things for the team. And Pete DeBoer has talked a lot about getting to know these players up front. And, one of the things right away was he was like, wow, Riley Smith is such a good player at both ends of the ice and does so many things. And when Marchessault was going through his little lull there, Pete said, he's doing other stuff for us, and he's still getting chances. Eventually, it'll start to go in.
A lot like Mark Stone in the sense that he's the emotional boy to this team. He floats them from a spiritual get out there and get it done standpoint.
Well, he's the pit bull, right? When they need somebody to drag them into the fight, Jonathan Marchessault will go in there. It's you see him run into to Chara or Bufflin or whoever he needs to at a given point. He doesn't care who he's going up against. He's going to bounce into that guy and cause trouble and do what he can. And I think for Golden Knights fans, that his comments after Game 1 in the Western Conference Final against the Jets a couple years ago, where he just said, "We need to be better, and I'm going to be better," and then he went out and was the player of the game in Game 2 and just sort of really changed that series. Because that's in the playoffs, in a best of 7, that's the format. When you don't have home ice, you got to get one in their building and then take care of business constantly in your building. And it gave Vegas the opportunity. They won Game 2, came and won Game 3 and 4 at home, and they could have lost Game 5, but still knowing they had that chance to win the series in Game 6. They won it in Game 5, and Marchessault was a big factor in that series.
Nice tour. Nice to give us a look around the house.
Yeah, Marshy Estates.
I have a feeling just with him taking shots on that shooter tutor that he's emotional just doing that. Like he misses 2 in a row. There's the roll of the eyes.
Well, if we talk
hands are up.
If we talk to our to Sage Salmons on our communications team, he would tell you for sure that he's emotional in everything he does. So listen, we're around him quite a bit, and a real interesting personality and a real good guy.
What we know at this point, and it's changed a lot since last Wednesday night, but let's start and work our way back, because last Wednesday was a real interesting time in all of our lives, but particularly the sports world with the NBA and the National Hockey League. But last night it became official as word seeped out that the first National Hockey League player tested positive.
Yeah, so what we know right now is the CDC has said that no big gatherings of 50 or more for 60 days. So the NHL has, they're going to observe that obviously, and they're hopeful that if things flatten out, that 45 days from now, training camps could start, small groups skating together, and then maybe resume play in 60 days. But there's no guarantee that Gary. I spoke to Gary Bettman the other day, and he said, "Look, we'll release a little bit of information and discuss what we're hopeful that we might do, but it's minute by minute here. You can just look at how things have changed in our community. Last night the governor came on television and said, we're closing most non-essential businesses. So things are changing from day to day. So we'll see where that goes. I could take you back to last Wednesday and what it was like for the players and for the staff of the Golden Knights. We were in St. Paul, had flown there Wednesday afternoon, and were preparing for a game that was going to be played on Thursday night against the Minnesota Wild. And I was at dinner with Dave Gaucher and Shane Knighty, and we were kind of hopping from one place to the next looking for the Jets-Oilers game. They were playing a very important game, and we wanted to watch that, and we couldn't find it on a TV anywhere. And eventually we decided we'd go back to the hotel, and on our way back to the hotel, the news broke on Twitter that the NBA, that Rudy Gobert had tested positive, and the NBA was gonna suspend play in their regular season for an unknown amount of time. And we kind of looked at that, and it was very obvious to us then that the NHL would probably follow suit. And then you heard shortly after that the NHL was going to have a Board of Governors conference call the next day. And as soon as we kind of heard that, knowing how Gary Bettman works, it wasn't going to be that wasn't going to be a conversation the next day where he said, look, what are we going to do? He was working the phones at that point in time and was going to talk to all 31 owners or Board of Governors, principal Board of Governors in the National Hockey League, and build consensus. And, it was pretty apparent that would mean they were going to suspend play and pause play. So, it kind of became a little bit of a night of mourning for us, and we all got together in the lobby bar at the St. Paul Hotel and just did our normal thing and kind of, socialized a little bit. And, some people were nervous, and we reassured them. Shane Knighty and Dave Gaucher and I had been through, Shane's been through a number of lockouts, Dave a number of lockouts. I was kind of boots on the ground in New York City in 2013 covering that lockout. So, we were kind of prepared for what this would be like. Now, the difference with this one is it's not a situation where the NHL and the NHLPA are trying to hammer out a deal. This is a disease that we don't know which way it's going to turn and how it's going to react. So it was a different night. And of course, then the next morning, news broke that Gary Bettman didn't even take a vote. Just sort of, he said they talked for a little while, and then he said to his constituents, okay, we're going to pause the season. Do we have any opposition? And there was no opposition.
What was that like waking up Thursday in Minneapolis? The directive had gone out, no meetings, no morning skate, no gatherings for teams. So the National Hockey League had issued that to their member clubs. It looked at that point like there was going to be a game on Thursday night, but limbo might be the best way to put it, because you didn't know whether you were coming home, going to a game, where you were.
Well, we were pretty sure we were coming home. We were pretty sure there wasn't going to be a game, and when the release came out that there was no morning skates, that to me was okay. They figured this out. They're just trying to work out a few more kinks. So it was just kind of wait and see and wait for instructions. Sage was Sage Sammons was kind of in charge of letting us know when things would. How things would unfold and what we should do. So we were waiting for news from him and Rick Bronstein, who's our director of team services, waiting to hear from those guys. And once we did, we were told to be in the lobby for a bus at 4:30, and we went to the airport and got on the plane. And the biggest concern was whether or not there was going to be a hot meal on the plane. Sage let us know that we were going to get some food, and so we were all happy about that.
Is that what you call a hot meal?
The food on the plane's excellent.
I'm just not sure it's ever been referred to as a hot meal before.
That's what it was referred to in that memo, so that's how I said it today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't
We
know
said
whether
we weren't going to bicker, Darren, but you're pushing the envelope already.
I don't know whether we've anything's become much clearer. We're probably just more used to the uncertainty, and we're settling into this new normal. But yeah, almost a week later, it's really bizarre, but stable in the sense we know where we're going. We have the 60-day window, and maybe in 45 days, National Hockey League teams can start a training camp, and that would lead us to the playoffs. And when you're looking at declaring a Stanley Cup champion, which the National Hockey League is still wanting to do, you look at the standings and the 16-team tournament, and based on the standings at the pause, these are the matchups that would have occurred with St. Louis and Nashville in a wild card versus the division leader, right on through to the Pacific with the VGK and the Winnipeg Jets slated a matchup based on the standings at the pause. And in the Eastern Conference, a marquee series, Tampa Bay and Toronto. I don't know whether there'd be any pucks left for that one after all the goal scores. And Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So that's based on standings, but there's a real split divide about what you would do, because some teams have played 71 games, some teams 69. That's unfair. So do you go with the number of points at the pause, or do you go with points percentage, which would, in Winnipeg's case, knock them out?
Yeah, I would think that it would have to be points percentage if you can't play. See, there's a couple of things. So some teams would say, okay, it should be points percentage, but that means we should get to everybody should play the same number of games as well. So we would play a few more regular season games before the playoffs started. Well, the teams that are already in the playoffs would then say, no, that's an advantage to those teams to play a game. So my guess is, and especially with the timeline, 60 days from when that was announced was early May. You have to start playing playoff games if you're going to play the full tournament. So my guess is it would be points percentage, and there would be no more regular season games played. That to me would be the fairest thing. I know there are people that would look at that and say, no, that's not fair at all.
So if it's not fair to the teams that get bumped by points percentage, or the teams that don't have the opportunity to make up the ground, there has been this idea floated around about having 8 extra teams. So making the field available and vying for a Stanley Cup championship up to 24, and bringing in the next 8 clubs. And that would bring into play teams like Vancouver, Minnesota, Arizona, Chicago, Islanders, New York. So you have 2 New York area teams, significant, Florida Panthers and the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, the concept is that there would be some sort of a play-in round to get to the 16 that you need to play the tournament. And again, I think that unbalances the competitive integrity that you want to have, because if those teams are playing games, well, so Vegas is in. No matter any way you slice it, Vegas is in. And if Vegas has to sit while, Vancouver and Winnipeg are fighting it out to see who's going to play Vegas in the first round, then their teams that have played at a playoff structure or playoff level of competition while Vegas is sitting idle, those teams have that's a competitive imbalance in their favor. So for me, that doesn't work.
Here's the way it was put to me by a coach in the National Hockey League, and it wasn't by John Cooper of Tampa, although this coach did use Tampa Bay as an example. Tampa played last year at a very high level during the regular season, but didn't play meaningful games down the stretch. Yeah. And they went into the Stanley Cup playoffs and played a team that was hungry, that had fought to the end against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Columbus swept Tampa. This coach said, if we go into a situation where a team's played a best of 3 or a best of 5, playing a team that hasn't played at all, never mind non-meaningful games down the stretch, that even widens that gap. And they just made the case where you can't have teams having buys. It's just too. Normally a buy is a good thing. In this case, a buy would really penalize the team that had a higher point total.
Yeah, well, that's basically what I was trying to explain. That puts a real nice bow on it in that manner.
Thank you, Gary.
For me, the one thing Gary Bettman has said is he wants to play the Stanley Cup. That's his goal, is to award the Stanley Cup. But so handing it out, it can't be 8 teams. If you just let 8 teams in, I think that's not the other thing he said was, no matter what, we want it to have integrity. So for me, what that means is 16 wins. That's the tournament. That's what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. Right now, you have to win four best of 7 series, and that comes to 16 wins. And that if you get 16 playoff wins, you get the cup. So however they do it,
Do you think it looks more traditional than other?
What do you mean?
The playoff format that they would eventually use looks more traditional. 16 wins, 16 teams.
That's what I think.
Okay.
That's the best case scenario for me. Now, if the decision is, okay, we're going to play the first round because of time, we're going to make it a best 2 out of 3 or a best 3 out of 5, and then the next 3 rounds will be best 4 out of 7. If the decision is do it that way or not play the playoffs at all and don't hand out a cup, I'm going for that. I'm going for that other option. If it goes to the first 2 rounds or no cup, like first 2 rounds being shorter series or no cup, I'm in favor. I would go for that as well. But by the time you get to the conference finals and the Stanley Cup, those have to be, from my perspective, those have to be best of 7 series. Let's talk about.
Well, just for a bracket purposes, it's 4, 8, 16 workout with no bye. 24, you need a bye.
Yeah, you can't, and I'm not for that. I think
Now,
that
you could
is,
do pools, like a 3, 14
You could
pool.
do
There's
anything.
all kinds of things that you could do.
You could do anything. And you know what? The NHL, between hockey ops, player safety, the executive, the C-class level, the Bettman and Daly and those people, there's a lot of smart people in that room. And I really think, and this will get us to the next thing we want to talk about, I think they will bring in, well, I know they have to bring in the Players Association. So I'd be really excited to see them say, you know what? We're going to bring Sidney Crosby to the table. Yeah. We're going to bring Pekka Rinne, a longtime veteran. We're going to bring him to the table. We're going to bring Marc-Andre Fleury or Max Pacioretty, guys that have been around. And
that's probably already happening behind the scenes, right?
Behind the scenes, but at some point in time, conference calls or however you want to do it, I think that you want to hear the voices of those great players. So, and the players have actually, there has been a scenario floated where they would end the season right now and wait until August to resume and play the playoffs.
Maintain a pause.
Pause remains until August, and then the playoffs would start. And they would play the playoffs in August and September. So that would mean there would be no free agency on July 1. There would be no amateur draft in late June. They would put all those things on hold and then pause and wait until August and then begin the playoffs. Play the playoffs. The playoffs are 2 months if you're playing that 16-team tournament. So then you would play August and September would be the playoffs, and then October would be used as you'd have the amateur draft, you'd have free agency, and you would have a little bit of the off season would be that month of October, and then the regular seasons would resume in November. That would then mean that next season would be truncated or shortened. And Bill Daly was asked about this on a podcast with Pierre LeBrun and Scott Burnside earlier today. And he said our priority would be to not damage or shorten or alter next season at all. They want next season to be played in full, all 82 games with a full playoff. And there's
traditional, like traditional, starting October.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's lots of economic, scheduling. There's probably a myriad of reasons of why they would want to do that. Well,
normalcy.
It's the regular.
Yeah.
It's the normal National Hockey League calendar, and they wouldn't want to alter that for next year if they could help it. But he did say, we're not saying no to anything at this point in time. That wouldn't be their choice, but they're not saying no to it.
That's why I brought up the pools idea, because normally you'd chase me out of here bringing up something like that. And right now everything's on the table. The other part, no, normally you would be.
Anywhere.
You'd chase me.
I might throw this pen at you.
August would allow everything to sort of pass. That would be a safe timeline as well. Where the biggest fear right now for anybody is to start back up and then be forced into a pause. And August looks like that might be.
So if you started back up early and then a player tested positive in the middle of a series, what happens then? So, I think, and listen, it's all, we're in a tunnel of unknown and unexpected right now. So that's why I think it's been really interesting the way Gary Bettman has handled this. I think he suspended earlier than maybe he needed to, and a lot of teams followed suit in the next 24 leagues and followed suit in the next 24 hours. But then, I think he's been pretty prudent in just sort of saying, we're going to follow the information in front of us and make decisions as we need to.
Gary, 24 hours ago, we were in a period where life was somewhat still functioning. Governor Sisolak in Nevada implemented non-essential businesses to be shut down as of noon today. So that actually, I went and got my haircut today because of that, because I didn't want to go a whole month without that. So just you had to react and roll with that. So we're in a different state right now than we were 24 hours ago. So everybody's functioning on the fly here, including the players. And you had a chance to catch up with a few of them today.
Yeah, this was interesting. I spoke with Nate Schmidt right around 9:30, I think, 9 o'clock this morning, and he was at his home, and he has his girlfriend Allie is a Pilates and yoga instructor. So Nate has been doing Pilates and yoga. That's how he's been trying to stay in shape. And he said I'm really sore, more sore than I've been in a long, long time. And normally at this stage of the season, the players are trying to maintain, whatever they do in the weight room or with the team's strength and conditioning people, Doug Davidson here in Vegas, it's to maintain where they're at, because you're fatigued and you can't, it's not a time to build, it's a time to maintain. But so now he's trying to kind of flip the script a little bit because he's off. He has purchased Liberty puzzles, and he said that it's really difficult, and they've got one set up, and they're trying to do it, and they're going by whenever they kind of have a minute, they go by and try and fiddle with it. No TV for Nate so far. He was playing Xbox with Malcolm Subban last night. Malcolm is in Chicago, so former Golden Knights goaltender, and now with the Chicago Blackhawks. Nate and Malcolm were playing Xbox together.
Do you know what game?
No, I don't. No. And
Reporter asked what
tonight
game.
he's got a big Halo night scheduled with all of the guys that he played baseball with in high school back in Minnesota. I think that's pretty cool. They've been doing a lot of cooking, but Nate wanted me to say that they're also ordering food in from local restaurants because they want to support all of those businesses that are obviously going through real difficult times at this point. And then he wanted me to deliver, that it's a bummer to be at home, to be kind of self-quarantined right now. But, and I heard this quote at a couple places, our grandparents were asked to go to war and die and get wounded and fight for their countries. We're being asked to sit on our couches, which is something that normally we'd be real happy to do. So Nate wanted to encourage all Golden Knights fans and everyone in Vegas and around the world to follow what our government and what our health officials are asking us to do right now.
Beautiful perspective. Wild Bill.
Yeah, Wild Bill. Always fun to talk to Bill. He was scrambling some eggs when I phoned, and he is practicing social distancing. And because he's from Sweden, I wouldn't know this, but Europeans do PlayStation 4 while North Americans do Xbox. So Will has PlayStation 4, so he's not playing video games with the teammates. He's playing with all of his buddies back in Sweden, and he's been looking at his guitar and wondering if he's going to pick it up and learn a couple songs during this NHL season pause. He's been watching some movies. He watched Stargirl last night. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. So it's about a girl in Arizona who's, in William's words, sticks out in the crowd, and he said she does some magical things, and it's a happy and uplifting story. And he said, of course, there's a boy. There's a love, Stargirl.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a love story component to it as well. So that's kind of cute. He's got a gym in his garage, so he's been working out in his garage, and he also said that he went a little hard yesterday, and apparently he did some abs and was his stomach was a little sore this morning. He's doing a lot of cooking at home, and had barbecued some steaks last night. And again, he wanted to sort of say, this isn't an ideal time. It's a little boring, but he wants everybody to be safe. His parents are in Sweden, and he, has said he phoned them the other day and said, "Look, you're both 60 plus.
Yeah.
I want you to stay at home." So they're pretty much staying at home, except for some walks in the woods, that sort of thing. So William and his girlfriend Emily really following social distancing and sticking around at home.
Well, Will and Emily, while they search for things to keep them occupied, Will Carrier doesn't have that challenge. It's there for him.
Yes. So Will and Caroline, that's his fiance, they welcomed beautiful baby girl Stella into the world last week, and look at that! What a pumpkin! My
Wow.
goodness. So he sort of said, you don't ever want the NHL season to pause, but for him, this is kind of perfect timing to be at home. Not for the reasons we're at home, but he's getting to participate in a way that most NHL players that have a child born in the regular season or inside the season never get to. Some guys travel home, the baby's born, and then fly commercial the next day to catch up with their team. Like Will would have been on the ice in Denver for that game on Sunday afternoon with his wife and his fiance and daughter back in Vegas. So his mother-in-law is, mother-in-law to be, I guess, is there with him and his wife and helping. He said she's doing all the cooking, but Will said most, all of his teammates that have kids told him, that you don't get to participate in the nighttime feedings because you got to sleep, because you got to play a game the next day. So often your significant other the mother has to do a lot of that themselves. Well, in this case, Will Carrier he said, I'm napping in the afternoon and getting ready, and I'm taking a night shift. So he's doing some night feedings and helping and participating in that moment with Caroline and Stella. So he said there's been no TV in the house. They are they're keeping it quiet. And
Stella hasn't asked for a phone yet.
No, she hasn't asked for a phone yet. No, they took her in for for some vaccines the other day, and he took me through that process. They went to the parking lot of the doctor's office. They texted and said, okay, we're outside. And they got a text at a certain point in time and said, okay, come in the back door. They went in the back door, quickly got the vaccine, and then right back out. So kind of an interesting look into what is happening for young families.
Yeah, dentist yesterday, we had to go, and same thing, parents weren't allowed in. The patient went in and then out.
Yeah. He just bought a new house, and it has a gym. So he's been using the gym, and there's a road bike there. And he said, I'm going to go out and fiddle around with the road bike and see if I can't. Actually, he called it a speed bike.
Get it sized if you can.
So he's going to use the gym, and he's going to use the bike to try and stay in shape.
Cody Eakin was a big road biker, and in this challenge that we're going through right now, there's a great area to stay in shape.
Well, absolutely. Cody would get during training camp, he'd get a group of the guys, and they would go do the route from City National Arena or around there, the Red Rock Loop, and then back. Vegas Golden Knights pro scout Von Karpen often does that when he's in Vegas as well.
Yeah, I could see Von Karpen passing everybody.
Vaughn is, if you haven't seen Vaughn, he is, he's
Olympic athlete.
It's kind of a little bit of a competition between him and George McPhee to see who is the most fit amongst the Golden Knights management. I'll give it to George.
You're unbelievable. Questions for us that have come in via social media, and please comment below. Let us know what you're thinking, where you're watching from. VGK Worldwide throughout this process on this edition of the Night Report presented by Allegiant. And now, as a parent, Shelley wants to know, as a parent, Gary, how are you dealing with homeschooling during this time with Lauren?
Well, I'm actually super impressed with Lauren's school. They've done a great job. Her school was canceled ahead of the rest of the school, so she came home last Thursday with everything, and we've been getting emails from the school outlining the plan and how they're going to do this. And yesterday was a trial run, and then when I left the house at 9:30 this morning, Lauren had commandeered my Bluetooth headphones and was sitting in front of her mother's computer and working away. And it looked to me like she was fully engaged. There was all kinds of information on the screen that she could see her other classmates and they could interact. So really excited about that. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. So I knowing that Lauren was going to be at home and was going to be needing some exercise in some fashion, we ordered a trampoline for her, and it came yesterday. And I was telling Nate Schmidt that this morning on the phone. I said, I got to put this trampoline together later on today when I'm done work. And he said, could you ask your daughter if I can sneak over late at night and borrow the trampoline? And so I asked Lauren, and she said, no, that's not social distancing.
No, it's not at all. Be careful when you do that. Those springs hurt.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. That's awesome. The idea of going through this whole process and homeschooling, is Lauren going to be using your computer?
No.
Okay. Because I've witnessed, for those that don't know, I lived with Gary and Jen for the first month while I got settled in
Lauren.
Vegas in September.
And Fred
and
Scout
when Lauren the odd time would use Gary's computer, and she would do whatever the kids do on it, and Gary would try and type something out, and all you'd hear from one end of the house to the other is, Lauren, what did you do to my daddy's computer? It was the greatest. I lived for those days.
She'd go into some area and then kind of lock things up so that I couldn't get to where I needed to get to. So
that's okay. So Kelly, watching from Edwards Air Force Base in California, thanks for watching.
Hey, Kelly,
tuning
thanks
in
for your service
and participating. That's awesome. We have another question from Allison. Most fun player in the locker room that you deal with? Fun.
Yeah, there's a tie. There's a number of guys. Like Ryan Reeves can be a lot of fun. Nate Schmidt is obviously a lot of fun. Marc-Andre Fleury, Marc-Andre Fleury has pranked Sage, our part of our communications
Okay, that's the fourth
team.
shout out you've given to Sage. What do you owe him money or something?
I'm staring at him. He's in the sideline. And then
Alyssa
I was
is
just
right
about
here.
to say, Marc-Andre Fleury nicknamed Alyssa Skittles at some point in time. I'm not really sure why. So these guys they're good people. We went on the Father's trip this year. We were really fortunate that Bill Foley didn't just invite the players. He invited the whole organization that was on the road, the traveling team, to go to three of his vineyards. And so we spent the day sampling wine, and we had a fantastic banquet. Alex Tuck's shoe tech checked me. Yes, I know it was you, Alex. And it was, it was a really fun night. And then at day and night, and then we had to get back on our buses. And normally the players are all on their own bus, and the content and communications people are on a separate bus. Well, a bunch of the players decided we're going to ride with them. And Nick Holden was Fleury, Englund, Nick Holden, Thomas Nosek. A bunch of them jumped on our bus. But Nick Holden played air guitar. Like, we have a speaker. Dan Duva has a speaker that he brings on our bus, and we often Shane Knight, he plays DJ, and usually it's Dave Gosher, lip syncing or karaokeing with the songs that Shane picks, and it's how we pass the time on the bus once in a while. Well, on this
What does
night,
Gary do?
I tap my feet, it depends. Anyways, it depends on the song.
Okay.
I'll sing a little bit once in a while. Anyways, Nick Holden was on our bus, and they're playing this music, and him and his father, John, they like air guitared for 2.5 hours from Sonoma back to our hotel in San Jose. So Nick Holden, a real fun guy in the room. I don't know, who am I missing? Well, Marchie can be, very mischievous and lots of fun. You can go around the room.
So is Reeves fun, or is Reeves fun in the sense that he beaks at you, chirps at you,
No, Reeves is
pecks at
fun.
you?
Reeves is
Okay.
listen. Obviously, he has a dark side. We've seen that on the ice.
Yeah.
He can go to a place that is you don't want to be involved in. But he's kind of a teddy bear too. He's I've seen him interact with a lot of young children, and I have a friend, Amy, who was fighting cancer or is fighting cancer, and Ryan sent her. Amy is Ryan's favorite. Ryan is Amy's favorite player, and he sent her a really nice, inspirational, motivational message. So, you know what? I worked on the outside for a long time and wasn't part of a team, and being part of a team and getting to know the players has been very rewarding. And we have good people here.
We do that. Tara, album you can listen to from start to finish.
Well, there's a few. Jackson Brown's Running on Empty is one for me for sure. The Eagles' Greatest Hits, I can go to that one. Anything by Bruce Springsteen, I can listen to. That's not entirely true. I don't love the song Mary Queen of Arkansas, and I don't love the song Fire, but I like a lot of Springsteen. I'm going to get lumped up for this because Gosher and Duva are massive Springsteen fans. Shane, every time Springsteen comes on, Shane loves to Shane is he's the guy that kind of keeps us in order. He loves to say, oh, that's Billy Joel. Yeah, I don't want to hear any Billy Joel right now. So we have some fun with that. Billy Joel too. I like Billy Joel as well.
Last book that you read?
I'm in the middle of reading a book by Guy Vanderhaeg. He's a Canadian author. It's called The Last Crossing.
We should start a book club.
Sure, we should start a book club. Alyssa Girardi came up with that fantastic idea.
It's already taken, that idea?
Don't try and steal it, Mallard. See, I give shout-outs. Mallard steals live on air. Yes, Alyssa Girardi is working on it. We're going to start a book club up and really involve our fans.
Yeah, you. And we'll have a digital book club. It's funny, when you talk about Holden, like Kelly McCrimmon, when he brought up the contract extension, was effusive in his praise about Nick Holden and how likable he is.
Well, so if you're behind the scenes at an NHL game, after a game is played and the players are getting ready to shower or get ready to go to a bus or whatever, guys have played junior together, they've played college together, they've played on pro teams together. So guys will go out, like, so for instance, when Pittsburgh is here, Marc-Andre Fleury will leave the Golden Knights dressing room, go down the hall and have a conversation with Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby.
It happened last time they were here.
Sid. Yes, Well, Nick Holden, Nick Holden, after every game, no matter where we are, is out in that hallway having a chat with someone. And Kelly always takes note of that. Well, the other truth is, so was Kelly McCrimmon, because Kelly knows a lot of people from his days in junior hockey. And there's a Brandon Wheat King seemingly on every team we play in the NHL, or someone that Kelly's been affiliated with. And it's it is on the ice. It gets very competitive, and it obviously is fierce at times, but it's a big family. Mm-hmm. It's a circle. The broadcasters all know one another. We all text one another. Where should we go for dinner when we're in your town? That we trade notes on certain things, and certainly the players a lot of the players know each other off the ice and have relationships.
One of the things we have to do during this pause is get your favorite road city and where you like to go for dinner. There's a lot of that we can get to throughout this because it looks like we're going to have a little bit. Jack Dugan, there's some news there regarding the 5th round draft choice of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, he's a Hobie Baker finalist. This is something that we've been waiting to see for quite some time, that this would that this would unfold. So, I think Jack's got a real good chance to win it. They have 10 finalists, and now they whittle it down. And the Hobie Baker Trophy is the hockey's version of the Heisman Trophy, and in NCAA hockey. So good for Jack, and we'll see. His season is over, obviously, so we'll see where his career goes from here.
Wire to wire, leading scorer in the nation with Providence.
Fantastic.
Scored the shootout winning goal at the Fortress Invitational on the ice at T-Mobile, and that was a thrill for him. And a 5th-round draft choice, and then a 6th-round draft choice out of the 2018 draft, also making some noise.
Yes, Peter Delibatore. You left it to me to try and say
No, you
the
know
name.
why? Because your friend Sage was bumbling, and so I said, and he goes, "Let Gary say that."
Yeah. Well, I just said it, and I'm only saying it once. He's a nice young player as well, and as if you talk to our player development manager or director, Will Nickel, Peter has made big strides since the time when he was drafted till now, and hopefully has a bright future with the Golden Knights as well.
So we do have hockey tonight on AT&T
Yes,
Sportsnet
we do.
Rocky Mountain West. This is going to be great. 16 games in 16 days, starting off with this beautiful performance by Jonathan Marchessault. Ryan Reeves obviously involved in that. From October 28th, 2018. And this is a thrilling one because of how it finished.
Yes, and you know what? If I'm not incorrect,
which has never happened,
I think this is the episode where Dave Gaucher presents a cake to Shane Knighty during one of the intermissions. It happened in Ottawa, so I think it was that game. And I'm sure that the Lawless in Order from that night was absolutely fantastic. 5-star performance.
Well, the games are squeezed down to 90 minutes.
Oh, so there's no intermissions.
Well, I'm just saying, don't be disappointed if you're not in there. I know that's a disappointment.
Get on the phone. We got to fix this.
This has been fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. So that's coming up tonight on AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain West. 16 games and 16 nights, starting off with that memorable one in October of that opening season against the Ottawa Senators.
Well, I'll just have a little fun with you if you're watching. I just slammed my pen on my pad. There is a famous moment in hockey broadcasting where a broadcaster throws his pencil in the air. Tweet to me who that broadcaster was, at Gary Lawless. I'm looking forward to your answers.
Can I tweet now?
No, you can't play. You know who it is.
Hey, stay safe, okay? You are you've done a great job, and I kid you, but
wash your hands.
You've done a great job of reminding everybody about where we are.
Stay apart. Stay at home. Hang out with your family. There's positives that can become from this. Learn more about your family members. Read a book. Learn a new recipe. Learn a new song on the guitar. Make the best of it, folks. It's not great, but we can get through it.
What's your strategy in a puzzle? Outside in, or do you start with?
We're ordering some online today, and we're gonna develop some strategies.
Yeah, to the doctors, to the nurses, to our first responders, healthcare professionals, we commend you, and we implore you at home, not involved in those fields, to do your best to stay safe, to stay healthy, to ease the system and the easy exposure, both within our city, which is going through some serious tough times right now, and across the country and globally. Thanks for watching the Night Report presented by Allegiant. We will chat with you again later on this week. Be good.